Hi everyone and welcome to Book Boop. My name is Rachel and today I'm going to talk about my March TBR. So all the books I'm wanting to read in the month of March. I have really hit the ground running this year with reading books. I've already gotten through I think 13 books so far. So I'm 2 books ahead of schedule on my 70 book goal, and I've been reading lots of different types of books in different genres and different age ranges, and it's been so much fun and I'm really excited about this TBR as well. I have 7 books on my TBR for March, 2 of them being middle grade, 3 are young adult, and 2 are adult. So let's go ahead and jump into the books I'm hoping to read in March. So the very first book is this interesting one I randomly found at a thrift store that just looked really cool, and it's called The Humming Room by Ellen Potter. And this one is supposed to be a retelling of The Secret Garden, which sounds so intriguing. I think I've read The Secret Garden before, the original one. What I remember the most, though, is I watched the movie a whole bunch of times when I was younger, the one that has Maggie, oh my goodness, Professor McGonagall. She's the one, she's in that movie, and that one I've seen so many times, and I absolutely adore that movie, and I own it, and I'm hoping my daughter adores it as much as I do. But I'm really excited to read this. It looks like a really interesting retelling. I don't know much about it, other than the fact it's supposed to be set, I believe, in present day. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a short little book, so I think it'll be a fun little read to just jump into and experience The Secret Garden in a new way. The next middle grade I do not currently have. I'm going to borrow from the library, and I should have it available to me in about mid-March. And that book is called The Secret of Nightingale Wood by Lucy Strange. The only thing I know about this book is, first of all, it has a gorgeous cover. So if you haven't seen the cover, you need to go look it up. It is beautiful. Also, it's set in the early 1900s. We follow this girl who's living, I believe, kind of in this remote location, and her house is next to some woods. And I think she starts seeing and hearing ghosts in the house, and then she keeps seeing sort of strange things in the woods. And so the woods might be kind of magical or mystical. I don't know. I don't know much about it. It sounds like a lot of fun, though. And if you say middle grade and ghosts together at some point, I will read that because that is my jam. So I'm really excited to read that one. And I've had that one on my TBR for a really long time. So it's been on my radar for several years, and I hadn't gone around to it. So I'm really excited to finally give it a shot. So let's go ahead and move it to some young adult books. So this one I actually planned to read in February, but I didn't end up getting around to it. And also my library didn't end up getting it in time for me to be able to read for February, but I finally have my hands on it and I'm so pumped. And that is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. This is the 3rd book in the Truly Devious series. If you've never heard of Truly Devious before, it is a mystery, I guess you could say kind of thriller young adult series. And we follow this girl who is going to this very prestigious boarding school that you basically have to be invited to. And it's in this very remote location, I think like up in the mountains or something like that. And the people that are usually invited to go to this boarding school, I think it's for high school students, are usually kids that have certain affinities or talents for certain things. And the main girl that we follow, her interest is true crime. She's super into true crime. She wants to be a detective when she grows up, but she's super interested in a crime that actually happened at this boarding school when it first opened. So when the boarding school first opened, the owner of the boarding school's wife and daughter were kidnapped, never found. The mystery was never solved. And so she's super interested in hoping to finally crack the case. So that's what we follow. We jump back and forth between present day and the past when this original crime happened. And we just follow Stevie, that's her name, and she's just trying to see if she can solve this crime that no one else has been able to solve. And lots of other mysteries and things come up in present day as well. It's very fast-paced and fun. Something I'm definitely going to do, though, is I'm going to find like a detailed breakdown description of the second book just to make sure I'm really up to date, because I think I remember things until I jump into a book and I go, oh, there's a lot I forgot. So I'm going to definitely read a detailed description of the second book to make sure to refresh my memory. That way I don't have to reread the first and second book again, but just something to refresh my memory. That way I'm not jumping into this feeling completely lost, because I've made the mistake of doing that before with some other series like Miss Peregrine's. I did that with the past 2 books and just tried to jump in thinking, oh, I remembered what happened, and then didn't remember what was going on. All right, I just revealed a little too much of myself right there. Okay, the next one I have on my TBR cart, and I'm so excited about it because it just sounds like everything I would love, and the cover's really cool, and that is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. This is 2 words that catch me. Dark Disney. That's all I need to know. This story is sort of like a sci-fi spin on Disney World. So we have this place that's called the Kingdom, I believe, and it's this place that's like Disney World. It's a place where dreams come true. It's where you can go see princes and princesses and fairies in real life. And what's different is the fact that the characters that play the characters are not people. They are actually androids. So there are all these robots that are created to be basically perfect and to embody the characters that they're created for, until some things start to go awry with the androids. Some of them, I think, start developing more feelings and more emotions than they are originally programmed. And then I think what happens is that this android, I think that's on the cover, I think she's sort of having feelings for a real life person that works at the park, and then that person ends up dead, and people think that this android's actually the one that murdered that person. And I think it follows the trial of following what's going on with this murder. And I don't know, it sounds super interesting, sounds kind of dark, a little creepy. So dark Disney, I'm all about that. I'm pumped about this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and this cover is just killer. So I love it. All right, the last YA book I'm going to jump into is continuing in a series for me, and that is Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. This is a beefy boy, but I am excited to jump into this. This is the second book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I think that's what the series is called. So we follow this character here on the front. Her name is Audrey Rose, and in the first book, we follow her in the late 1800s, and she is very interested in forensics. She works with cadavers who have been murdered and trying to help solve the mysteries and everything. She's super into this. This is what her uncle does for a living, and she's been learning from him. Thing is, again, this is in the 1800s, and a lot of times women aren't able to go for this kind of career. So she's a little bit different in that fact that she wants to be more in a male kind of heavy career set. And so in the first book, we follow her as she's actually trying to solve the Jack the Ripper murders. And this one, I don't know much about it other than the fact that it's supposed to be another murder spree that happens, and she gets involved in trying to solve it. And I think a lot of things point to possibly a vampire. So I think that's why it's called Hunting Prince Dracula. And I believe it takes place in Romania. So it should be a lot of fun. Definitely sounds like something I should be reading in October. But this is a series I really want to read this year and finish up, because there are 4 books in the series, and the 4th book just came out last year. So the series is all out. It's all complete, so I can read it whenever I want. But this is the next one I have to read, and I'm pumped to move along with Audrey Rose and see what happens and see what kind of escapade she gets into and what kind of murdery things happen. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. Okay, the last 2 I actually have on my Kindle, and these are my adult books I'm going to read. And I have heard about this series, this duology, for so long, and I can't believe I haven't gotten to it yet. It is Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. So I'm trying to get more into V.E. Schwab. I've read some of her stuff. I've read her Darker Shade of Magic series. I have also absolutely adore and read her Cassidy Blake middle grade series, the newer series that she's been putting out, and I absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorite series right now. And I'm just super interested in V.E. Schwab and all the books she's put out. She's put out some really interesting series, and she makes some really cool characters. So I'm excited to jump into these. So if you've never heard about Vicious or Vengeful before, the first book, Vicious, is about these 2 guys, I believe, that are in college. They're college roommates, and they're studying people who have developed powers. Basically, think superheroes, people that have developed those kind of like superhuman powers. And they're studying that, and on top of that, they really want to actually gain powers themselves. But so far from their studies, what they figured out is the people that have gained powers had near-death experiences. And so they actually attempt to cause near-death experiences. So I will say, I know there are trigger warnings for self-harm and suicide in at least the first book. I know that much because they try to basically almost kill themselves so that they can gain these powers. I think kind of in their mind, thinking they just want to become superhuman. They also hope to, I think, become superheroes basically. But I believe they end up gaining powers, but then they turn on each other, and they both end up basically being supervillains. And V. Schwab is really, really incredible about creating complex characters that you kind of hate and you love them at the same time. Just they're really complex, and they're just raw, and just not good people. So I'm excited to read this. I'm hoping I really enjoy Vicious, so that I'll also want to read Vengeful as well. I just put both of them on my TBR, especially since it's just a duology. So I don't think there's going to be any more in the series. So it'd be really cool just to jump in and just to see what happens and to read both of them. And I'm excited to finally get to join in on the conversation for these, because these have been around for a while, especially Vicious, and people absolutely love it. And I've heard so much about it, and it's rare when I've heard anything bad about it. So I'm excited to be able to know more and to join in the conversation. That is exciting. So those are all the books that I'm planning to read in March. I apologize if I stumbled around a little bit. I feel like my brain was everywhere. If there's any of these books that you have read before, let me know what you thought about them down below. Also, super rando question. This is something I've been thinking about trying to do. Have you ever read a book without knowing what it's about? Other than like school. I get in school, they give you a book and you're like, you have to read this for school. Like if you just picked up a book and just based on the cover or the title, you read it, but you had no idea what it was about. I've never done that before. I always read the synopsis because I want to know what I'm getting into. And if I read a synopsis and I'm not into it, I won't read the book. So I find it super interesting when people have actually picked up a book and read it without knowing anything at all. So I'm just curious if you've done that before, and if you have, what that experience was like, and if it's something you enjoy doing, or if it was kind of a negative experience and you ended up jumping into it and going, oh, this is not fun. I wish I would have known this was what this was about. Anyways, that's super random. I'm just curious. On this side of the video over here is my logo. If you click on that, you can subscribe to my channel and follow me on my book journey. On this side of the video over here is a suggestion for another video if you want to watch another one right now. But thank you so much for watching. You rock, and don't forget to keep reading. Bye.